Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another deck profile for you featuring the very cool promo boss from Stoicheia, Claudine. We'll be doing one for D-BT12 as we got a new card that really makes the deck play in a very different way than before. So we'll start with the right line. We have the cutest potential starter available for the Mid-Arc right line. I think he's really cute, so that's why I picked him. Now we picked up the two Zorka right lines. These two work together just because they're playing so many orders. The first one lets you Soul Blast 1 to draw 2 cards, then discard 1 order. And the Grade 2 lets you on right get an order back from your drop to your hand. Very good synergy because we are playing 10 orders in this deck. Then the actual boss unit of the deck, Claudine. So what she can do is she can retire 3 rear guards. Then all plant tokens get plus 5k. And she gives herself plus 1 drive. So right off the bat we're already a triple drive deck. Then we can bind an order from our drop zone, and that gives us 2 plant tokens. So that not only fills the board for us to sack, it also gives us plant tokens to then give 5k to. And very important for the last skill, on attack you can Soul Blast 1 to stand a plant token, and then the plant token gets plus 5 for every 2 different named orders in your drop zone or bind zone. So it's very synergistic because she binds her own orders. And then, because we're playing a lot of different orders, she actually can give out like plus 5, plus 10, occasionally plus 15, but that's very hard to get off. Alright, next up, we'll go over the trigger lineup. So to start off, we are running the Stoicheia OT. You could argue that the blue OT is better in this case, but Stoicheia is pretty much the same thing. But it also heals you a card, so that's why we're running this over the blue OT. Next up, we're running 3 draw triggers, as it's important to get the cards that we need in our hand, because if we run out of bodies to sack for Claudine's skill, we're kind of in trouble. Then the standard run 4 heal triggers. I think everybody runs 4 heals, unless you want to run some kind of crazy rush strategy. Last but not least, with 8 crits, we have potentially 4 drive checks. And if our opponent says no guard, we flip 2 crits. It'd be a very hard situation for our opponent to come back from that. So that's why we want to optimize our crit chance as much as possible. Alright, next up we'll go over the grade 2s in the deck. We're only running a couple, so this will be a quick segment. We're running 1 Maple. This is only good if you see her early, so that's why I'm only running 1. If you have 2 in drop, you can also only revive 1 because of her own claws. 5k shield to drop early game, or like very easy to commit on turn 2 as you don't really lose anything because she just intercepts and brings herself back next to her. One of the most important cards in this deck, in my opinion, is Pollen. On play, she can counterblast 1 to give 2 plant tokens. So she by herself gives you 3 bodies to sack for Vanguard skill. This is really, really good, as before I played this card I was really struggling getting enough bodies on the field. And at times, if you just don't get that plus 1 drive, it can feel very sluggish to play the deck, and without the power to the plant tokens, it's difficult to justify the restand at times, especially if you don't have a Persona ride, because it just won't hit with just plant tokens. Next up, the grade 1 lineup. The second most important card in this deck is Yolanda. This D-BT12 card simply says, when this unit boosts, retire 2 other grade 1 or less rear guards. You draw 1 card and then get plus 10k until end of the battle. What does this do for us? Well, we have a lot of plant tokens left at the end of our turns usually, because we just make a lot of them. So she just cleans up our board for us, which is also good in the retire meta, and then gives us a big booster and a draw, which is always good. So this deck really changed the deck for me, really amplified how this deck plays and like the playstyle of it. Very important piece in my opinion. Next up, standard 3 PGs on 1 Blitz order. There's an argument to not run the Blitz order, but I still think it's worth it for if you run into a guard restrict or a grade 4 deck. The argument to not run the Blitz PG is because you're running other Blitz orders. But we're only running 1, so I still think it's worth it. And finally, for the grade 1 slot, we're running 4 mushrooms. This just gives us 2 plant tokens. It's really good. Fills up our soul for our Vanguard skill too. So all in all, just a solid card. Alright, last but not least, we'll go over all our different orders that we're playing. First up, I would say that this is an important card. It's the Abolishment of for Sins. It says it's a Blitz order. If you play Soul Blast 1, it gets plus 5k power to the attacked unit for every different named order card in your drop or bind zone. Plus you get to draw a card. So because we're already playing a lot of different orders, I just thought that this was a perfect inclusion in the deck. Gives us an extra draw, which is important sometimes to survive. And since we're making Soul anyway with the mushrooms, we can definitely use this. It's also the only Blitz order I choose to run, as I think there are not a lot of good Blitz orders right now that are really worth it. Next up, another D-BT12 card that we added to the deck is the Blessing of the Flowering Buds. Very simple card. You just give all of your 5k base units plus 10k, and at the end of the battle that it hits, you return to hand. So all your plant tokens get plus 10. They become 20k base with your Vanguard skill added to it. You could also argue that you could call triggers down more easily as they're 15k attackers. That if they hit, bounce back to hand too, so potentially you're not even losing a trigger from hand. I don't think it's that worth it, but in a pinch it could come in handy. Next up, we're running 1 Sweets that become an Evil Dream. Play with Counterblast 1, draw a card, and look at the top card of your deck. You either put it on top of your deck or you discard it. Very simple. It's a good card to play on turn 2 if you don't have anything else going on. Mainly if you don't draw your Prop Pollen, this will probably be your CB usage on turn 2. Let you draw a card and stack your deck, so it's quite useful. Then we're running 1 copy of In the Dim Darkness, the Frozen Resentment. You play with Soul Blast 1, check top 3. One of those trees goes to the drop zone, so you could mill an order you haven't seen yet. Quite useful for that. Then choose a card from your drop with a great lesson or equal to your Vanguard and call it to your card circle. So this is another way to bring back your Prot Pollens if you need bodies to sack, or your Landas if you just need one and have the rest of your field set up. It's definitely a good order to use in a pinch if you need field pressure. This is definitely a good card that you could play if you need. This is definitely a good card to play if you need board presence. Next up, a card that I have gone back and forth on. It's Gather Upon Me, You Wandering Souls. I've played this at less copies before, and then the deck didn't feel quite as good because you just very often find yourself in the position that your hand is full of orders, and this will help you filter out your hand with those orders. And it's also your way of getting 4 drive checks with your Vanguard, which is quite scary to just say 23 quad drive. If you don't check 2 or 3 crits, you might just close out the game right then and there. And the last order that we're playing is the Meteoric Habitat order. It's the promo order from the sneak peek. On play, you have to check top 7, and you choose an order you choose a unit card that's less than or equal to your Vanguard's grade, and call it to Vanguard circle. Also in the deck, this thing counts as a unit card. So if you play one of them and in top 7 you see the other one, you can actually just call the other one, because when this thing is called, you can actually just bounce it to your hand. So it's a little bit of deck filtering. You can also just find your pieces that you still need. Alright, now we'll move over to a simple setup of a turn 2 and a turn 3 play. Alright, welcome back. I've set up a simple board for our turn 2 play. We've took 1 damage last turn and activated our Vanguard skill to Soul Blast 1 and discard an order. Now we're going to discard a card from our hand to ride up to our grade 2 boss, which says that we can add an order back from our drop to our hand, because we discarded one last turn for a grade 1. It's very easy. Next up, the first play you should always make is called on Prot Pollen. She's gonna counterblast 1. And we're gonna call 2 plant tokens right here. Next up, from hand, we're gonna call down a Yolanda behind a Prot Pollen. And then, last but not least, we have 2 different options here actually. You can either play Gum for the twin drive or play the Butts for the potential big push turn. However, when we look how board, there's nothing behind Vanguard, so we're kind of missing out on extra power. So in this case, we'll go for Gum, discarding the power order, so that we have twin drive. Now in this case, normally I would swing with the side column first for 10k for just a poke. Usually they'll probably guard this because they think, oh, there's a twin drive Vanguard coming up, you might want to take that. Or they'll think the opposite and they'll check it offensive, which in that case it's quite sad, but it's also that much more scarier if you do check a crit, because then you push them really hard. And we'll attack with our Vanguard. Then we'll do the twin drive because we gotten it from the Gum order. First check crit, because we're a good player, we check the crit. You can then put our power to the standing column. Let's say they didn't guard, so we'll put the crit on Vanguard. Second check heal. Again, we can put this power, and then look, we just put a maple in our drop for next turn, which is perfect. Then we can swing here, and we can simply retire the 2 plant tokens that the prot pollen gave us for a draw and 10k extra power. So now this column is already swinging for 47k, which is essentially an unguardable number at grade 2. Alright, now we're going to show a simple grade 3 turn. We took 2 defensives, so our opponent decided to kill our front row rearguard circle, which makes a lot of sense. Now we're going to draw for turn. And look, we drew into a prot pollen, just perfect. I'm going to discard a card for Ride Up. Here she is, the important lady of the deck. We'll start off with the on-ride skill of Maple. When a grade 3 is being ridden, she can call herself. Then we can play Prot Pollen, use her effect to get 2 plant tokens. Then we'll use our Vanguard's ability to sack 3 units to give all our plant tokens +5, and she gives herself +1 drive. Then we will bind the Gum from our drop to get 2 more plant tokens with our Vanguard's other ability. Last but not least, we'll call the Mushies, put it into Soul to get our final plant token. We're all doing this because now we have our important order that gives all plant tokens +10. This actually enables us to make really big columns, even when we're going on our first grade 3 ride. Okay, so now we have a really nice board setup of a bunch of plant tokens. Not too unfamiliar to how Neo Nectar played in the past. We'll swing first with a 20k plant token, just to like poke, see if they guard. Then we're going to swing at our Vanguards. On attack, we can Soul Blast out 1 card to make the plant token restand. Then, because we have 2 different named orders in our drop and bind, you can see we have the Blossoming Buds and the Gum. And that's all. So this plant token will actually get another +5. Now we're swinging for 33 triple drive. First, second, third. No triggers, but that's perfectly fine. Our numbers are still pretty big, because now we can swing here for 45,000. And then again trigger our Yolanda skill by sacking 2 plant tokens to give herself +10 and 1 draw. So then that'll swing for 38k. which are quite impressive numbers for a first grade 3 ride. And if we checked some triggers or even a crit, it would have put a lot of pressure on our opponent, which is really, really nice. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed watching that quick overview of how one of my current favorite standard decks is going. Thanks to Yolanda, this deck really got a second life, in my opinion. It really pushed the deck beyond what it was capable of before, or even before it was already a decent, just fun deck. Now it actually can put up quite good numbers, draw quite a lot of cards, and actually have a decent chance of fighting against some of the more competent decks in the format. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I will see you in the next video. Take care.